Welcome to Texas Franchise Radio, where your hosts, Josh Cherry and Robbie Marlowe, bring you all things franchising in the Texas market. Franchising is one of 3 growth strategies businesses can use to expand and capture market share. Effective when done right. But there's a lot to this dynamic business model. Learn from others in the industry as we bring on all levels of franchise operators and experts.
Yo, you ready? Let's go. Robbie and Josh going live, and it's time to hit the road. You were tuned in to Texas Franchise Radio. Oh, you're in the business? Well, this is what you need. Reppin' Texas, they professionals up in the industry. What we talking about? We talking business models, invest in franchises. We going full throttle. Learn about the industry. I know you got the questions. We're trying to help you grow and take it to the
All right, good morning, Facebook Live, Texas Franchise Radio listeners on the radio. This is Robbie Marlowe, your co-host. I got Joshua Cherry with me.
What's up, Conroe and Facebook? How are you guys today?
All right, we got a special guest with us today. He has the nickname the Fran Man. We're going to find out how he gets that nickname because it takes some, if you're going to call yourself the Fran Man.
The Fran Man.
Yeah.
That carries some weight.
Yeah, that carries some weight. So we're going to get a little story behind the Fran Man, but we got Kit Vincent with us.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having me, guys.
Excellent radio voice, too.
You can be our podna. Isn't that what you call it?
Podners.
Yeah, podners.
Yeah, you got to say it right. Podner.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk, we kind of help 3 groups with this radio show, or we look to service those 3 groups. Business owners looking to scale through franchising, which I think is the best way to scale. People looking to invest in a franchise, and people who have already invested into a franchise system and just looking to get some tips, tricks, kind of listen to the guests we bring on.
Scaling through franchise, great model. Also brings with it some very unique challenges.
Unique challenges, that's the least you can say about it, because it's challenges you don't really see when you're trying to run your just regular business. Me and Josh, we were in the franchise business, and jumping into the we were in the fitness business. Did I say franchise business?
Yep.
Okay, we're in the fitness business. We're in the franchise business now.
This is live. You can't make mistakes like that.
I know. And I'm probably red right now if you're watching Facebook Live, the redness of Rob's face. But we were in the fitness business, and what's the biggest difference between the fitness business and when we jumped into franchising?
I think, there's real advantages to scaling through franchising, right? You get to use other people's time and capital, which seems like you said, it's really the best method. There's nothing more American about it than growing or scaling through franchising. Sounds awesome. You get to help people accomplish the dream they want to accomplish. You get to help more of the end users, and you get to scale using people's time and capital. But with that comes some really just built-in intrinsic challenges. Kid, I've heard you talk about on your podcast before, the owner mentality or the buying mentality. When you sell somebody a franchise, when they buy something, and psychologically what they think that means versus trying to actually scale a franchise properly, it's very tricky.
Sales talk. You want to stay. I coach people to stay away from sales talk, because exactly what you said. People talk about I'm selling a franchise, or I bought a franchise, and when you buy something, if I buy this pin, I feel like it's mine. And if I feel like it's mine, I feel like I can do whatever I want to with it. And as it relates to franchising, that means changing the sign, changing the trade dress. So it's mine. I own it because it was sold to me. I bought it. It's not really the case when you look at a driver's license, for example. You don't buy a driver's license. You're granted a driver's license. The issuing authority grants you a driver's license with the understanding that you're going to follow certain rules, and you take a test to prove that you understand what those rules are, and they grant that license to you, and they can take it away anytime they want to. And if I go get too many tickets, they can take my license away. They can revoke that license. It's a privilege. It's nothing that I buy. I do pay a fee for the processing, but I'm not buying it. And so a lot of people confuse that, and they say, I'm going to sell a franchise. Or we just sold one. I just bought one. It's like, yeah, you did, but try to stay away from that. I coach people, and I got this from Bob Gappa with Management 2000. The guy's a genius when it comes to franchising. He says, stay away from the sales talk. You want to grant a license. You want to award a license, because it is a license. Franchising is a type of license.
A lot of times we hear that that mentality or that thought process, or, the fact that the FDD is an incredibly one-sided document, a lot of times we hear that that's to protect the franchisor. In a case it is, but really that it's just to protect best practices of franchising. It's to protect the franchisee, the end user, the franchisor, all the stakeholders in the economic system can only work if you have that brand consistency.
Well, I think there's a misunderstanding from what I've learned in my studies. The FDD was not created to protect the franchisor. The FDD was created to protect the consumer. The Federal Trade Commission says we need a way to protect the consumer. In this case, the consumer is the prospective franchisee. They're going out and they are going to invest a lot of money in something. And in the late 60s and early 70s, there were a lot of unscrupulous franchisors out there selling a concept that didn't even exist. And so people were dumping $30,000, $50,000, and there was nothing. And so we said, okay, we have to have a way. They said they have to have a way to protect these people. So let's require all franchisors. And again, I'm not the franchise attorney, but I've just, from what I've read, we have to have a way to protect the consumer at this point, who is the prospective franchisee. So we're going to create this disclosure document where it discloses everything in a uniform way. It used to be called the Uniform Franchise Offering Circular, UFOC.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm. And so it's a uniform way that we can spell out everything that this person is offering, that this franchise concept is offering, in a way that I can take not just two burger joints and compare them, but I can take a burger joint and a fitness center, and I can lay them side by side, two UFOCs at that time, or FDDs now, and I can read item 1, item 2, item 3, and I can really compare apples to apples with two companies. So it was designed to protect not the franchisor, but the franchisee.
Man, look at that. I didn't think we were going to get a history lesson today on the radio show, but hey, we appreciate it, Kit. I just want to remind everybody, we're on Facebook Live. If you have any questions, please drop them into the comments below. If you have a question for Kit, Josh, or I, just let us know. But that kind of brings me into the next thing I kind of want to talk about. And we heard it first from one of our business coaches, and he talked about when it comes to franchising, it's like 3 legs of a stool. And if you don't have those 3 legs of the stool, what happens? The franchise falls down. It don't work. It don't flow right. And sales, right. And I guess one of the kind of terminology we use in franchise is sales. And I guess that's why outside people think being a franchise salesman is selling. And like y'all said, it's not really, it's granting a license. But the other two parts.
Well, development. You could call it development instead of sales.
Yeah, it's been, I've seen that a couple times, kind of called franchise development. So we'll just use it for here.
No, everyone says sales. You're not going to get away from it. But.
Okay. I was going to try to plant my flag right here on the radio show.
Yeah,
watch out, IFA. We're changing the lingo.
We're
Power trio right here, right now.
Everybody says sales. You're not going to get away from it.
The 3 stools is sales. The other one is operations. And the third one is finance. And kind of getting a hold of all 3 of those is really what you need to do on your franchise into the business. Now, the business you run day to day, what you're trying to franchise, the 3 things probably are going to be kind of the same. Sales, whatever you're doing is sales. Operations, daily operations, customer fulfillment, but also finance. But it's a little bit different. It's kind of set up a little different on the franchise because there's so many layers when you're dealing with the franchise business. You got the headquarters operations, internal operations on how do you deliver the content or what you're licensing out. Mm-hmm. You have the operations on the store level that you have to go out and teach. And then you have the operations of continuing training and ensuring that everything you have in the FDD document, that you're keeping that brand consistent, right, through state lines, through territories, their neighbor. Nothing's worse for a franchise as the guy right across from them doing something opposite and it's hurting the brand name. So you as a franchisor have to protect that. I know, Josh, you do a lot of the franchise sales or the development for us at Delta Life Fitness, and he has created a great kind of a way of doing it in operations. And then we do have operations on our level. Tell us, just let everybody know kind of when it comes to operations, you know very well about the 3 levels of the operations that we have. Kind of walk them through everybody through that.
And talking about what you just said, with when you're running a franchise business, you have to get comfortable with it is a completely separate business model than the previous business you came from. And I think we're good people to talk about this. And Kit, when we come on the Fran Man podcast, we can talk about the same thing. But I think we're good to talk about this for anybody who's potentially wanting to create a franchise or be a franchisor, or if you're in a franchise system and you feel yourself getting frustrated with some of these things. I want to explain because I think, Robbie, you and I and Delta Life Fitness, we've been way too far one way and then we've shifted way too far the other way, and then now we're finding our good equilibrium. And what I mean by that is when we first decided to scale beyond corporate-owned units, we didn't understand that franchising is a completely separate business model. So we were not taking care of the economic model of headquarters, and that didn't allow us to be able to grow and staff up and systematize the store level operations the way we should. So, and we were running basically a gym back office at the time. That was the only economic model we understood. We were building everything, all of our headquarters, quote unquote, headquarters support was about only creating things at the unit level.
Yep.
We didn't understand or have a separate plan because I think we thought that would be stealing or taken away from the units that were already operating. So we didn't want to make franchise sales a priority because we thought that was taken away from store level operations. Then we kind of made the switch. We had Lynette McKee. If you're in the franchise industry, you know her, VP of franchising for Dunkin' Brands during their largest growth run. She comes in and she says, guys, we got to have a business model, and we got to build the economic system on the franchise business, because if you don't take care of that, you're not going to have a support system for the gym. So I think at that moment, we switched too far. Our pendulum went from building stuff for the studio to let's get the franchise model down.
Yeah. And it was a natural progression of when kind of, and me and Josh, and I'm sure the listeners that are entrepreneurs, that are business owners out there, you're probably the same way. When you see the better way, you want to get there as fast as possible because you think that's going to be the vehicle of growth, or you think that's going to, that's the light bulb came off. That's going to change everything. Yeah. How do I get there? I know me and Josh are the worst
Extremely coachable.
Yeah. You tell us one thing,
to a fault. Really.
Yeah. To a fault, but we see it the better way, and Josh a little bit better at the communication of selling it to other people. I'm just like, hey, that's a better way. You should see it, and you should see it. Why don't you see it? Let's get there.
If 2 aspirin are great, 8 must be better.
So we switched from really doing the back level units to really taking care of the franchise business. We, for the first time ever, and we had heard it from Shelly Sun and other people at IFA that it's, franchising is a separate business, and we had the Painting with a Twist ladies tell us the same thing. But I think it really clicked with us at that point. And then we went to building an economic model that would make sense on the development side. We understood we were missing a significant portion of one of our legs of the stool at the franchise model. So then we fixed that. And I think just here recently, this past year, now we understand we've really developed an org chart that we've got a whole system for franchising and taking care of us, because guess what? The healthier we are, the better financially stable headquarters is, the better we can support everybody else. So we have good systems now to take care of that, but we've also got a dedicated team to making sure studio operations is getting better and better documented, and we're making progress on that each and every quarter. And so now we're not perfect, but every 90 days we're committed to improving both of those systems and processes.
So franchising is about figuring out a way to deliver a consistent, positive experience to every customer.
Who does have a heck of a radio voice? I just got to throw that out there.
No, he does. He does.
Okay, thanks. So at every location. So if I'm in Maine, or if I'm in Florida, if I'm in California, we are delivering a consistent customer experience from location to location, and that's key, and that's what you guys are focusing on. You've got to make sure, because there is a sale that takes place in a franchise, because you're selling them on the idea of being a franchisee. That's the sale that takes place. Once that sale is made and you've convinced them that the value of your concept is worth that $30,000 plus the build out, then that sale has been made. Then you're going to grant a franchise. But that sale is made. So that sale is made, and they're buying the idea that you have a system in place to support them, to help them deliver that consistent experience so that they can continue to grow as you've grown.
That's true.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think with us, starting from, like I was telling you earlier, starting from a park, going into warehouses, scaling through licenses into franchising, we constantly have to sell that idea, because
but the point I was trying to make is that you're talking about focusing on internally versus externally, the franchisees. You have to develop that first. My point was that you're selling the idea of being a franchisee because they believe that you have an infrastructure in place that's going to support them as they move forward, and that's kind of building on the point that you were just making.
No, it's absolutely true.
Yeah, and kind of, I know if you already create a franchise, the next model you create for franchising, the hardest part, and I know that's kind of when we talked about building a back office for a gym, it's the entrepreneurs right now, the business owners right now that says, you know what, I think scaling through franchising is what I want to do, but they necessarily didn't build the operations or build the business around franchising, because it is a little different. Looking at a business saying, I'm going to scale and open 3 units myself, or I'm going to leverage other people to grow my business. And it's, I think that was the biggest eye-opening moment. For some reason, over the last year and a half, it really, the franchising really clicked for me. And I think for the whole organization, especially our organization, of what we need to do as a franchisor to better support everybody going forward. And I'm not sure at what moment that was when it did click, but it just like everything kind of lined together for us. And it just got very clear, the vision of where we need to take, especially internally, our headquarters group.
And part of that is being okay with, we have to make sales to generate and be able to deliver a good product ourselves. Like it's okay to be a little selfish on that, and have and also support your franchisees and give them great systems, but have your franchisees understand how important and crucial the growth of the entire system is, and have them support you and back you up in that.
Well, it's like the difference between driving a car and then telling somebody how to drive a remote control car, where you're telling them, okay, turn left, turn right. You've got to think it ahead of them, 4 steps ahead of them, because if you're driving the car, you can react instinctively.
Yeah.
But if you're having to tell them where to turn and when to slow down, you've got to build in that time. You've got to think in advance, and you've got to be.
That's a great analogy. And for anybody that's going to create an emerging brand, one of the problems is if you were used to driving the car yourself, and you didn't map out how turn 3 is going to go, and so the franchisee figures out his favorite way to navigate turn 3, and it worked really well, and other franchisees see the way he did it, and then you come back and say, no, we actually need to go out wider on turn 3. You have to overturn a lot of what they had to figure out because you didn't have that. I'm telling you, if you're an emerging brand, the less you have spelled out when you turn on franchising, the more they are going to, out of necessity, create their own systems, and then you've got to work to overcome that.
Well, it's even more than that. What happens is, if you were to look at an angle, at the very beginning of that angle, both lines are touching. And if that angle is really narrow, like that really acute angle, as we move away from the meeting point of that angle, those 2 lines move farther and farther apart. At the very beginning of this franchise relationship, you guys have vetted the franchisee, and they've drunk the Kool-Aid, and everybody believes in the same thing, and we're all headed in the same direction. We all have the same vision for the future of the company. Now, they have been sold a franchise, and they bought it, and they believe part of it's theirs, and the brick and mortar is. And you're moving forward in time, and after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you're moving farther and farther apart. They have an idea about what they think the vision of the future of this company should be. Yours is the baseline. Theirs is moving this way. And if you don't have any mechanisms in place to pull them back down to your vision for the direction of the company, then they're going to continue to go. And pretty soon you're going to see Delta Life Fitness, and it's going to be purple and green. And then they're going to be selling hot dogs in the lobby, and because they say, hey, people who work out, they need protein, so we're selling them hot dogs.
It's so true.
And you're going to walk in, and it's like, what in the world is going on? And it's because you didn't have the documentation in place. You didn't have your operations manual. You didn't have your system standards documented in a way to pull them back. Because when they made that turn, when it came time to make that turn, you would have made that turn sharper. But they went out and went and added hot dogs.
And I think at first it's easy to get frustrated with a franchisee, but as we've grown in our journey, you kind of step back and you look and you say, that's incumbent on us. This is our brand. We have to keep doing the things to bring that line back down. You didn't put the mechanisms in place to keep them in place. Because it's only natural.
You've got minimum number of tools in franchising to really keep them in place. One of them is the franchise agreement, and the other is your franchise operations manual. And that's it. That's all you have to protect your brand. Whenever you franchise, you're in effect handing your brand that you've worked so hard to create, you're handing it over to somebody who may or may not share the same vision. Initially, they do, but if it's just 1 degree off at the beginning, in 5 years, it's going to be 20 degrees off.
And the only way you can really keep them aligned is if you're still doing the right thing. So how many brands have we seen where that went too far, and the franchisees were actually like, there was no bringing them back together because what the franchisor wanted was hurting the franchisee. Like, it's just, and that's why I said franchising is great because you get to scale using other people's time, money, and resources.
It has to be a win-win, though.
And it takes, and to do it right and to be a good, morally, ethically financially sound franchise, it's a heck of a lot of work, a heck of a lot of leadership, a lot of communication, a lot of sales, a lot of systems and processes. It's a lot, and I think people underestimate. I know we did. We underestimated it a wee bit,
just a little bit. I'm getting a feel of why they call this man the Fran Man. He's pulling out math equations. He's pulling out history books. Like, I mean, I gotta say, I'm kind of impressed.
The Fran Man, and the voice to go with it.
Yeah, he's got
the Fran Man with the big chin. All I'm missing is the big chin and the muscles, right?
It is. It's so much harder than you think. You know, one of the books me and Robbie just went through, it says that, you know, any
Dr. Seuss.
It was Dr. Seuss. It's the only one me and Robbie can read.
Dr. Seuss book on franchising.
Yeah,
I will not franchise
Green Eggs and Ham. Yeah. It said that, you know, you need a minimum of about $500,000 to get going, and you need 2 to 3 years before that money's going to start coming back around.
Yeah.
I don't think we believed that. We didn't understand how hard it was going to be.
But see, if everybody waited till they had $1 million,
I know, right?
Bucks
And
in the bank,
that's
they
why
would never start. And so I don't know. I'm not the expert here, but I would say how many. I don't know if there's ever been a study done, but how many franchise concepts have been started with $500,000 in the bank? I don't know.
Probably people in their second go, right?
Yeah,
like once you know how to do it once, the second one's a lot easier.
Well, and most people, like, we had quick success. Like, I mean, our business was fairly young when we started seeing significant success. You know, when we leveraged, I think, the golden age of Facebook, we were kind of, especially where we were at with our businesses, smaller towns, leveraging Facebook ads. It wasn't a thing. So we had early
really
success.
really early.
So with that success, we just said, what's the next? What's the next growth for us? And franchising was it. Sean Greenlee, one of our mentors, took us to IFA in San Antonio. What was that? A couple years ago, 2015?
14 or 15, yeah.
Yeah. And we walked in that room and we were chest poked out. We have this model, we're growing it. And we went in there and we met a lot of people that were a lot more successful than us that,
you guys haven't, they laughed at us because we were just a license.
Yeah, we were just,
you haven't even started to understand franchising yet. And it was true.
No, it was true. And going in that room was kind of spurred us to do this. And I think early success gave us the thought process, we'll figure it out, because business owners, entrepreneurs, you know, Fran Man, when you're in business for yourself, there's going to come a time that you're going to have to figure it out. And I think and everybody thinks they're invincible. They'll figure it out. And that's why why everybody jumps in on it. And it's always the guy that already did it that says, hey, you need 500,000.
I know, right? And that's what we'll tell the next young kid.
No, absolutely.
And we wouldn't have listened if anybody would have told us that. And you know what else
No.
I think? I think some of the greatest products in the world are created out of something that had to happen like we did. Like I look at Delta Life Fitness now that didn't have any funding when it first started. Like there's no way me and you drew this up from the beginning.
Absolutely.
We started in a park and these customers gave us feedback and we cash flowed and had to figure out so much that now we've created, based off what the customer wanted, a really awesome product. If me and you had to sit, if somebody gave us $1 million and said, come up with the next greatest fitness concept, we could have had a better document. We could have been better funded. We would have been able to give better support. But at the end of the day, our products would have sucked.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. You needed to have certain things, and it was created out of necessity, and it turned out to be it was the bobber. It's the parts that floated.
It's changed the way Steve Jobs said that the moment you realize that everything you see around you was created by men and women no smarter than you and me, then you're limitless. It's so true. It changed creating Delta Life and going through this whole process of franchising it. It's changed the way when I drive down the road and I see some of these brands. You know, I used to think they were just rich and had all the money and whatever. Like now I understand that most of the great brands that we see around us have similar stories that started from nothing and just grew into what they are. And that's what's cool about going to IFA. We thought we were an anomaly the way we created Delta Life. And then you hear the stories of Dairy Queen that still have one-page license agreements existing here in Texas, you know, and you hear about like Orange Theory. We look up to Orange Theory so much, but they still have those 12 first legacy units that can kind of do whatever they want. Like you realize that all these brands you see driving down the road still had this evolution in this process to create awesome brands.
Yep.
And it's just those brands, they're patient. And, you know, that's the thing. Like I'm telling you, when I was first in, I just wanted to, where do I want to be? How do I get there the fastest? And really this game is not about how I get there the fastest. It's really about patience, understanding, getting customer feedback, redoing the brand. How do you deliver it? And with franchising, you got feedback coming from everywhere. You got feedback coming from the franchisees. You got feedback coming from the HQ team. You got feedback coming from Aunt Sally. You think it.
Hey, you know what you need to do.
Yeah, you get on the phone with a Fran Man. He's giving you feedback. I mean,
you go to IFA. They tell you where you're jacked up.
So it's just being able to.
There is no finish line though. You're talking about getting there the fastest, and there's no there. It's a process. It's not an event.
And
Yeah.
that's what I've realized about it. The number one thing I've learned in business is that, like you said, there's sales and marketing, there's operations, and then there's product delivery. And whether it's the franchising side or whether it's the unit side, every 90 days, gain traction on those. Figure out which one's the weakest and improve it. And you're not going to be able to have it overnight. It's gaining traction and every 90 days improving those three things.
Yeah, when I say get there the fastest, like we'll see something that, hey, this could be an issue, and I'm always, how do I fix it? Even when my wife's mad at me, how do I fix it? I make it worse.
Just take the nail out of your head.
Yeah, but how do I get it? But how do I get it fixed the fastest? And there's the same thing coming when dealing with the franchisees or dealing with a customer at the store. Like, how do I fix it the fastest? And it's really, one is just seeing what's wrong and it's an issue, and then getting a plan and execute on that plan, no matter how long it takes. Just like you said, gaining traction over those three things moving forward.
Well said.
Do we got to take a break? We're time to take a break. We will be right back. If you have any questions for our man, somebody said, cool guest. I don't know who paid this guy to say that.
Nice.
But
That must be my wife. I didn't know she was listening.
as long as it's not my wife, huh, Kit? Yeah,
That's right.
turd. All right, we're going to go to break. We'll be right back. Thanks, guys.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
Did you know that there are over 153 million orphans in the world today? The sad reality is 99% of those kids will likely never be adopted. Core Love is an organization right here in Conroe that takes care of orphan children in Haiti, Honduras, and India. We bring the love of Jesus by providing their 6 basic needs of clean water, proper food, healthcare, education, job skills, and a loving home. Visit corelove.org, that's CORELUV.org. Will you help defend the orphan?
For those of you who like your partners, your gumbo, and your music salty, well, we're here to help with the music. Julian Shea here, host of Lone Star Country Nights Thursday, your weekly dose of roots and Americana and all the music that makes this part of the country special. We stir in Western swing, honky-tonk, Zydeco, Texas blues, outlaw country, and put a pinch of red dirt, and then we smoke it over a slow fire. Then listen to the results Thursday nights on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
From the beginning, the main purpose of the Cooperative Extension Service has been to change human behavior by teaching people how to apply the results of scientific research. By utilizing a holistic, multi-level approach, Extension family and community health programs encourage health and well-being for everyone. Addressing values, concerns, and needs with reliable science-based information, Extension programs help people lead healthier lives. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better.
We have the safest food supply in the world. Strict laws and regulations restrict the usage of hormones, antibiotics, and pesticides within our food supply. Production agriculture practices and technologies such as the use of GMOs, which is not any more or less risky than conventional crop production, has allowed American farmers to produce more food on less acres in environmentally sound ways. Find out more online at pathtotheplate.tamu.edu. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make lives better.
All right, guys, welcome back from break. We got Robbie Marlowe here. We got
Josh and the Fran Man. Welcome, Fran Man. This is a legend in the franchising world.
I actually have a name. My name is Kit. But you can call me Fran Man.
It's Fran Man.
Look up in the sky.
Me and Kristen were just listening through some old. We're listening to the 2015 IFA recordings.
Mm-hmm.
We're building out like our field support process and program, refining that. And so me and Kristen were listening through like some best practices. And there was one where Shelly's son and a whole panel of them were talking about having the manual, but then how you create the training outside of that. And then somebody asked a question, and I hear the Fran Man's voice, like, I'm one of the guys that writes those manuals, and I have a question.
Because they made a comment. It was Catherine Monson, and it wasn't malicious intent, but she made a comment of, the manual's not that important. Blah, blah.
Yeah, nobody reads the manual.
Nobody
like, I
reads
think
the
of
manual.
4 of them in that thing.
Well, I'm the one who writes those manuals.
But really, if you talk to anybody around the franchise community, they usually know who Kit Benson is.
That's very nice of you to say. I don't know how accurate that is. But.
Doug Groves has left a comment on here. He's watching. Welcome, Doug. We know your son Heath very well. We're supposed to be getting together and doing some insurance business. With
Shout out to Doug if you're watching this, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for writing in.
What's up? Brian Swiker just tuned in. What's up, Brian?
All right, so we're going to jump into the next topic. We're going to talk a little bit about Kit and get Kit's story on how he got into franchising.
If we got nothing else better.
This is going to be the good part.
We can do that.
We want to know how you got the nickname the Fran Man, but also once you get into franchising, you realize when you go to IFA, it's a really small world.
Franchising super
and
small.
Once you get to know somebody, you go to IFA again, you're going to see him again, and you'll have contact with them. So Kit, what's your story? How'd you get the Fran Man nickname, and just how'd you get in franchising? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so the Fran Man the original name of the company was Franchise Manuals LLC.
And what company is that? Like, I don't think we've talked about what you do and all that good
Okay,
stuff.
so I am the president of a company called Fran Man Inc., and we produce world-class custom franchise operations manuals.
Everybody doesn't like creating their own operations manuals. That's the funnest part. Me and Robbie said, let's franchise because we'll be able to write an operations manual.
I was there when you were producing your manual.
I remember that.
It got kicked back to us because you didn't want to do it anymore. Because it's tedious work. It's a whipping.
It
is a whipping to do that. And so we've got Gary Fieldson on our team, and he is a machine when it comes to producing operations manuals. And so the operations manual is the how to do your business for dummies. It's everything. It's nuts and bolts. Everything from pre-opening, from the time you sign the contract. Literally, it's from the time you sign the contract to the time you open the doors for business and beyond. It's everything. It has to encompass all of that stuff. So it's a pretty big document, and it covers a lot of things. And you have to make sure that you get all your system standards in place, which are system standards is a legal term, but basically what it means, it's the rules that everyone has to play by if you want to be a member of our club. If you want to be a member of the Delta Life Fitness Club, you got to follow these rules. You got to wear this uniform. You got to put this sign up. You got to do these exercises this way. And that's the system standard. And you got to make sure all those are included in your operations manual, because the franchise agreement, which is that other tool that's in place to help you manage the direction of your brand, that document is kind of this thou shalt and thou shalt nots. It's a much higher level document, but it makes a lot of references to the operations manual.
Sure.
So an operations manual all by itself is not a legal document. But the minute you sign your first franchise agreement that makes a reference to this document, it kind of sucks that document into the legal realm. So now you have a document that you have to defend, and that will be used to help defend you. So you want to make sure it's written properly
and update. Unfortunately,
yeah, you got to update that thing. So it's like a snapshot. It's like a photograph. If I were to when you take a photograph of us right now, this is what we look like right now. But in 5 years, this is not what we're going to look like. I'm going to have a beard. Some of my hair is going to be a little bit grayer. I'm going to have a few more laugh lines, and we're going to be very different. So we can't take a snapshot of your operations today as an operations manual and think that that's going to last us. Look at my profile picture on Facebook, and that's me 10 years ago. That's not what I look like today. And so if I were to try to tell somebody, hey, go find this guy, they would probably be able to find me, but I would look very different. And we want to make sure that you maintain your operations manual. It is a living document. I hate to say that because it's so trite, but it's a living document. It's not a static document. You've got to maintain it. So for that reason, we have developed the online manual by FranMan, which is a web-based version, like a Wikipedia, where we take a company's operations manual and we make a giant website out of it. And we can track where people are going in the manual, and we can provide that to the franchisor client. They can do instant updates. They can search the manual. But the instant updates is the key to that, where anybody, a franchisee, can be sitting there trying to do something, go, hey, that doesn't work. They log in and they go, hey, corporate office, this is not working for us. Well, it's a great vehicle for communication to franchisor as to what's not working. Then franchisor authorizes us to fix it, and we fix it. You've got a manual production company managing your updates. And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So one of the big problems with maintaining an operations manual is that over the years you've got 10 different people contributing to the operations manual, and it ends up looking like a quilt. And where you've got one piece over here that's plaid, and one piece over here that's stripes, and one piece over here that's a solid. And after 10 years, you can see it's like, oh my gosh, 10 different people wrote this, and you end up with weird things in manuals. Probably the worst case of.
Well, hang on one second. Well, like, so how did you even, like Robbie said, like, how did you even get into?
We're getting away from what.
There's no way you woke up one morning and was like, I'm going to write franchise manuals. How did you get into franchising and why manuals?
My brother, who is one of my partners in the business, Gary Fieldson, my brother Rob Benson is my partner in the business, and he's a franchise attorney. And at that time, I was in sales. I was actually in sales for a radio station. And I had done lots of jobs before that, sales and marketing and operations, and so I would always I was calling him up, hey Rob, what's going on? And he says, well, I'm just sending a client out to find an operations manual. And I said, why don't you do that? I had written operations manuals for startups. I used to work for startups. I like doing that. And he says, well, I don't have time. I said, well, I've written manuals before. You should do that. He goes, no, I don't have the bandwidth. I said, what are they charging these days? And this is back in 2005, 2004. He said, oh, about $25,000. I said, holy cow, that's a lot of money. I said, I could do that for a lot less. He goes, okay, let's do it. And so we kind of spent about 6 months kind of hacking out an outline and kind of filling in some of those sections that are common to all manuals. And I said, well, the next time you need a client, I kept my job. So next time you need a client, let's get that done. And he had about 6 months later, he goes, all right, got one. And I took some time off, took 2 days off of work, and I drove up there and did the site visit, and we produced their manual. And it wasn't like 2 weeks later, we got our next client. Quit my job, and we did it full time. So the name of the company,
it'll get you every time.
I know. So the name of the company originally was Franchise Manuals LLC, and when we sent there used to be a company called Worth 1000. Worth 1000, I think it's called 99 Designs now. But
oh yeah,
are y'all familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Where you create a contest, and people from all over the world compete, and so you put like a $300 prize on it, and people in Libya or wherever, they don't, $300 is a ton for them. And so they will design a logo for you. So you tell them what the name of your company is and what you do and what colors you want and all the things that you want. And then you'll get 50 different ideas of logos. And so the one that won was the one that took the Fran from franchise and the man from manual, but then they made pages like on the M so that the logo looks like it's a book. The M on the logo looks like it's a book. And so Franchise Manuals LLC, our logo said Friendman, so everybody started calling us Friendman. So when we incorporated, we changed it from Franchise Manuals LLC to Friendman Inc.
Okay.
Because everyone was calling us Friendman.
And then you just took the nickname Friendman?
I don't even take the nickname. You give it to me.
Get out of here.
You know what I am working on though? I'm working on some plush dolls.
Yeah.
So the superhero dolls, with the FM, the Friendman.
So at this point, you've looked at or written over 150 manuals, which sounds
that's about right.
Intense.
Well, we've been doing it for almost 14 years now.
Wow.
And so I tell people when we go on a site visit, we're not just, they hire us to come out and produce their manual. But while we're there, we're asking a lot of questions that they say I don't know to. And I tell people, if I had a dime for every time someone said I don't know to a question, I wouldn't have to write any more manuals. Because what you said earlier was absolutely right. Running a business, franchising a business is not the same as running a corporate-owned business. So when I get there, I'm asking them questions. I'm asking them to dig deep down into their business and think about things they haven't thought of. Well, we've been intimately exposed to a lot of different franchise systems, not just pizza and not just burgers, but recreational vehicle timeshare, indoor skydiving, you name it. I mean, weird things.
Fitness,
Delta Life Fitness. And so I've been exposed to a lot of different things, not just passively exposed, but intimately exposed. And so while we're there, we're actually kind of guiding them and doing some consulting as well. But we don't call ourselves franchise consultants. We are there to document their franchise system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds interesting, really seeing all those different models being really at an intimate level with the founders of those companies and seeing why do you start this business? Ask them those questions. I'm sure that does have an interesting part of it. Manuel's part, not so much, but
and I bet just doing all that research and makes sense for your Fran Man podcast. Like that's probably why your podcast. I give you a lot of crap, but your podcast gives me a lot of value. Like we've rewritten a lot of our systems based on some of your podcasts.
That means a lot.
And it makes more sense to me now after you've been and sat down with 150 franchisors and talked to them from where you are, how'd you get here, how are we going to document this? I bet you have seen so much on what makes a successful franchise versus what's going to not set you up for success.
Yeah, you know what? I always think about the man in the arena. I don't know if you've ever.
Oh, Teddy Roosevelt? You kidding me? It's like my favorite. I posted it like a week ago.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I love that.
So he was giving a speech in France, and that was just a piece of it. But the man in the arena is the guy. You guys are the men in the arena. I've never done what you guys do, so I can only go by what I've been exposed to. But there's value in being exposed to it. So I can't give that advice from someone who's actually done it. But I've talked to a lot of people who have, and I can say, you know what? Here's what I have seen works, and here's what I've seen doesn't. But I don't suggest that I'm in the same arena that you guys are.
Well, no, you are in the arena. You're a business owner. You work for yourself. That has its own challenges. It has its advantages and disadvantages. So no matter what you're doing, if you're in that arena, that is the arena.
You ever thought about franchising, Fran Man?
You know, I've toyed around with the idea, but I can't see where it makes sense because it doesn't need. I don't need locations around the country.
You'd have a pretty good manual, I bet.
I would. You know, it's funny. It's funny. It's the shoemaker, the cobbler's children are the ones that don't have any shoes.
I think interesting.
I don't have an operations manual.
You see it right now, especially in the fitness world. A lot of fitness people going out and creating businesses around consulting fitness businesses. You talked about consulting franchise business, the way to scale that. What you've seen, it might be an interesting pivot for you one day.
Oh, that would be.
It might. Right now, I just need to focus on growing the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to being zeroed in on one thing. I think is always better than trying to dip your hands in the.
Yeah, we try to at Fran Man, we try to stick to our knitting, our core competency, and that's operations manual. So every time, we do get a lot of pull. People say, "How come you don't do consulting? How come you don't do this in marketing?" Or add legal.
No, good for you for saying laser focus hedgehog concept.
It's really hard. So the only time we deviated is when we did the online manual. But it's very easy for me to say, you know what, that's still manual related.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have to have two services. Where
we need to talk to you more about that.
And then we actually the online manual is more of a distribution and management of that manual.
Derek Moss, also known as Moss the Boss, owner of 2 Delta Life Fitness Studios down in South Texas, tuned in. Derek, what's going on? Mark Mangrum gives us a thumbs up. Brian Swiker reminded us it is Mr. Marlowe's birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday.
Is 33. Happy birthday, Robbie.
Happy birthday to
Thanks, Brian, for throwing that out there.
I stiffed Brian this morning on our workout. I feel bad.
I know. We had a long day today, Brian. We didn't make it out to F3, as everybody who's following us knows. Robbie and I have been doing the F3, the Faith Fitness Fellowship.
Yep.
So we're not going to make it. We have to still squeeze in Stump the Chump. I don't know if we need to hit one more break. We got about 9 minutes before we're done, skis. Do we want to roll right into Stump the Chump, or what do you got, Rob?
9 minutes left for the episode?
I think so. Yep. We are 45 right now.
All right. Well, I guess we can do Stump the Chump. We can go into that. We'll finish up, and then we'll
can't not do Stump the Chump.
It's everybody. It's a fan favorite.
All right.
Well, I'm usually used to one more break, but I think we started a little late. So, basically, rules of Stump the Chump. Okay, Kit, just realize that me or Josh has yet to win this game. So if you lose to Josh, I'll be
guys.
Not going to talk to you anymore.
There's the first time for everything. I'm comfortable losing.
Basically, we do 8 questions. You get 4. Josh gets 4.
Are they franchise related?
They're franchise related. This one is actually going to be burger concept related.
Oh no!
And nothing but
we haven't done a lot of burger joints. But
nothing but burger joint. So we hit a little bit of Texas favorite. We hit a little bit of the
Whataburger.
Yeah. So
I eat a lot of burgers. I don't know if I ate a burger last night. I don't know if that qualifies.
So I'll read the rules real quick. Stump the Chump. We got Josh the Chaba Cherry. That's his F3 name, and then we have Kit the Fran Man Vincent. That's,
all right, I'll take it in the blue corner.
The rules: I will ask you each person 4 questions. You get 1 point for each the correct answer. If you do not know the answer, the other participant will be allowed to steal your point.
We don't have a buzzer.
In the case of a tie, we will have a tiebreaker question. The winner will win all the bragging rights and not have to wear the hat. I'm not sure if we have the hat. We got to get.
We're going to get a Stump the Chump.
Can we put the pin down so the first person to grab the pin?
He'll ask the question to whoever, and you get first.
Okay, so we're not competing. Okay.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Kit Vincent, the first question: who won the World Series last year?
I have no idea. I'm not the sports guy.
The Baseball World Series. Kit
Baseball
Vincent.
World Series. You're close to where it won at. That was the first time they won it.
I don't know.
What is the Houston?
San Antonio.
What is
Houston Astros?
There you go. Kit's got 1 point. Oh my
Did
god!
they really win? I don't know anything about sports.
Hey,
I really don't.
Dick, can you order some security to get out of the parking lot? There's gonna be people here waiting to.
Yeah,
He's from Dallas. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
to everybody.
even if
I'm not sure that.
Even if the Rangers would have won, I wouldn't have known.
I'm confident that you're going to.
You said this sports
I gotta
franchise.
set my game.
Are you
up.
saying these are franchise related because there's a
But the
sports
first one's
question?
usually like a toss up, like
no,
an easy
that's
question,
not
like
franchise
everybody.
related. God, why don't
My
you ask me a
4-year-old son
cooking
knows that question, Kit. Like,
Ask
come
me-
on.
Okay.
All right.
All right, bring it
Josh,
on. What's
number
next?
2. In January 1998, in New York, they built the biggest what?
In January of 1998.
Yep. In New York, they built the biggest what?
They built the biggest building.
Jam donut.
Okay.
Jam donut.
I was this close.
How come you didn't get that?
Almost there.
I mean, my 4-year-old son knows that.
I mean, who don't know that?
I know.
I mean, 98, we were all watching.
Oh, man,
all right.
That's funny.
Kit, number 3.
I thought these were going to be real questions.
This is no, these go into real
The
questions.
first one's just
The first
a
two
softball
are
to
just
give
kinda-
you.
Those were just lobs.
Those are lobs.
All right. So number 3.
All
What
right.
year was Whataburger founded? This is a
Ooh.
multiple choice.
Okay.
A, 1965. B, 1945. C, 1950. D, 1934.
Now I'm going to guess 1950.
Ding, ding, ding. Kit got 2 points. It's 2-0.
Ooh.
So it started franchising or was created?
No.
Was founded.
When it was founded. Because their paintings are on the wall. You can
Yeah.
see.
There you go.
And I actually asked I'm weird. I go in and I ask questions.
All
Tell me,
right.
when was it founded?
Kit wrote their manual in 53. So,
Ouch.
Hey,
five minutes.
5 minutes.
Hurry, we
Okay.
got
Number
5
4.
minutes.
Josh, what was the first, arguably, fast food restaurant?
Ooh, the very first.
It was in 1921.
1921, the first fast food restaurant. Jeez. Hot dog on a stick.
Kit, you can still. It wasn't hot dog on a stick.
Oh, no.
They made a movie about it.
Oh, well, 1921?
1921. There's a comedy.
I don't know. I was going to guess White Castle or something.
You're correct, Kit.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So this
Really?
Is, yeah.
All right,
That's White
cool.
Castle. Kit, this is for you.
All right.
And either one of y'all. This is going to be both y'all.
So it's 3-0?
3-0.
Is there any way he can even win now?
So this one's for both y'all. Who gets closest number? How many White Castles are in the U.S.?
650. No, that's too high. Anyway, already buzzed in.
651.
Oh, listen, that's such a wimpy answer.
It's 420.
See?
So Kit.
Serves you right. Serves you right.
Man, come on, White Castle.
All right. Starting in 2011, White Castle has been the home to what show, Josh?
Starting in 2011.
It's been a home, not the home, a home to what show?
Harold and Kumar.
Wrong.
There's an actual. No, I have no idea.
Impractical Jokers. Come on, guys.
Okay, whatever.
Impractical Jokers. That was
Who's
the
in
name.
charge of these questions?
Number 7.
Is this
Yeah.
another White Castle question?
Hey, no, it's a burger question. That's
Okay.
so it has a theme
All right,
to it.
all right.
And then a jam donut.
All right.
So
In baseball.
In-N-Out Burger. Hey, hush. In-N-Out Burger first opened in L.A. suburb of Baldwin County in what year?
Oh, God.
It's multiple choice. A, 1948.
Mm-hmm.
B, 1945. C, 1960. D, 1956. In-N-Out Burger opened what year?
60.
Wrong.
Oh, dang it.
48, 50, 60, and what's the other one?
D, 1956.
Let's go with 56.
It's A, 1948.
All right. Dang it. I was way off.
All right,
on that.
guys.
That was In-N-Out Burger?
That was In-N-Out Burger. So here, the big question, they're about to open In-N-Out Burger in Stafford. So it'd be the first one in Houston area, I think. So, there's a Whataburger In-N-Out thing.
If,
So I had to finish up with the Whataburger
If
question.
Mike Jum is listening to this, Whataburger is better than In-N-Out Burger.
No,
Just
no,
wanna
I agree.
Go down on the record.
I agree.
saying that.
So
Kid added that in the operations manual when he wrote it.
All right.
last question. First Whataburger was opened in what town or city? A, San Antonio. B, Corpus Christi. C, Houston. D, Dallas.
Corpus Christi.
Houston.
It was Corpus Christi.
Dude,
Man.
that was their headquarters before they moved to
like,
San Antonio.
I was worried about them come Houston Astros,
but clean house from
clean
there
house,
on.
5-0.
Well, I am
All
the
right.
chump reigning, so Yeah, good game.
Boom.
Kit the Fran man, Vincent. How much time we got? We got 2 minutes.
We got 2 minutes.
We can talk about all kinds of stuff. We can clean up with
2
anything.
minutes. Well, tell me how Delta Life Fitness is doing.
Hey, tell me one thing. Give everybody that's listening right now. Like, number one, I'm thinking about franchising. I gotta start with an operations manual, and I don't have 25,000 because I haven't started yet. Like, what's my first step really to start documenting this thing in 2 minutes or less?
Oh gosh, in 2 minutes or less. I always tell people start with your map. Start with an outline. You know, go put your bucket list down. What is it that we need to talk about? Go online. You can go to the FranMan website, franman.net. You can get an outline. I'll give it to you, and it's an outline for an operations manual that will help you put your bucket list together. Start there and build out from there. Don't try to. It's like eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
What's the minimum requirement? How do I know that, okay, it's good enough?
No
I can
requirement.
start franchising.
There's no minimum requirement. The Federal Trade Commission does not require
from best practices.
Yeah, but it doesn't require that you have one. Now, are you going to be able to sell the idea of being a franchisee if you don't offer that as a support device?
Okay.
Well, maybe not. But you know, you want to talk about pre-opening. That's everything from the time they sign the contract to the time they open their doors.
Important.
Where are we going to location? How do you build it out? Trade dress. You want to talk about operations. You want to talk about marketing. You want to talk about sales. You want to talk about HR. You got to be careful talking about HR because
joint
employer. But you're taking people who may or may not have any business experience, and you want to bring them into being a successful. You also want to, before that's all about vetting, making sure that you have people who are going to fit into your culture and who are going to be able to be successful.
Kid, I know I speak for me and Robbie both. A pleasure to have you drive all the way down from Dallas. I really mean that.
Absolutely.
You've been a good mentor and friend of ours in the franchise community. I'm glad to have you down and on Texas Franchise Radio with us.
I've enjoyed knowing you guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming and giving the value that you did. I wish I could spend 4 more hours with you just picking your brain.
I've got more to say. Maybe we can come back for round 2.
Yeah, we'll have to do round 2.
Absolutely.
But Kid, thanks for making the trip, man. Always a pleasure. Always learn a lot from you. Thanks for coming.
I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Thank you for listening to Texas Franchise Radio, where we bring on all the local franchise experts. If you liked the show, please share it with your friends. If you have any questions you'd like answered live on the show, send them to @Texas Franchise Radio on Facebook. Till next time.